This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life. Alright guys, welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now today, I'm joined by Tracy Holmes, a former nurse turned fitness guru and entrepreneur who trains and encourages women to feel sexier in their clothes and live happier, healthier lives. Tracy, welcome to the Above Average Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. So obviously I know a lot about your life. We've talked over the years. I believe I've known you probably about 4 or 5 years maybe now. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is scary to think that my life's gone by way too fast. But before I get into the fitness side of what you do, let's start at the beginning. So take us back to your childhood. I know you did a lot around the house as a kid. Like, what was your sort of childhood growing up?
Yeah, well, my childhood was really busy. I come from a family of 6 siblings. So obviously there's a lot to do when you've got 6 siblings at home. I was the oldest girl. I had 2 older brothers, and then obviously 3 younger than me. So because I think I was the oldest girl, you kind of take on some of the chores. Mm-hmm. So I looked after the littler children and helped with the cooking, cleaning. My mum is still to this day very, very house proud. Little bit OCD, or a lot OCD, I should say. So it was a lot of I guess responsibility as a child, really.
Yeah. So how do you think handling that responsibility sort of affected the rest of your life moving forward? Do you think that, obviously I know you're quite house proud yourself, like I've been to your house, it's very clean, it's very tidy, there's nothing out of place. Like, do you think that's continued throughout your life? I
think it's carried on massively throughout my life, like to the point where until recent years, I think I've been quite obsessed as well, quite OCD, over the top with the cleaning and making sure everything has to be done. And I'm still like that, but nowhere near as obsessed as I used to be. Because you realise when you go through other things that happen to you or around you in your life, you realise what's important. Yeah. And then you realise them things aren't quite as important as you think they are. Yeah, so yeah, definitely.
It's still kind of nice to have a nice place to live, though.
It's lovely to have a lovely, clean, comfortable place. But you need to also have a life and not let it totally take over your whole self. So it's a really good way to have been brought up, like having pride in yourself and what you own and looking after it, and that's the way I was brought up. So it has had a really positive impact on us as well.
So you don't feel like it was kind of why did it get put on me at such a young age? You're kind of quite proud of the fact that you had that responsibility.
Yeah, I think because when I was younger and I was like having to clean and tidy and do things, you know, when my friends were out playing and stuff like that, or before I went to dancing with my friends, I would have to clean, and sometimes I would get my friends to help us clean the patio doors, and they would help us so I could get a dancing on time, because I dance in a dance team, and if I wasn't there, the team wasn't together. So they used to say, come on, we'll help you, and things like that. So I did have a little bit of resentment when I was younger, but as I've got older, you appreciate it more, you appreciate your parents more, you appreciate why they do it, and like I appreciate me mum and dad like did the absolute best they could as parents for us. So and their intention was always to be the best parents they could possibly be, and we had a really good loving childhood. So you know, you realise that, but not until you're older. When you're a child, you think the world owes you, don't you?
Yeah, and you think that doing dishes is like the worst thing in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did dishes all the time. So
yeah, dishes. You cooked as well. You cooked quite a good cook.
Sunday dinners for not just Sunday dinners. I cooked for everyone. Yeah.
How old were you when you started cooking for everyone?
I think I was probably about 10. I used to peel the veg on a Sunday. We used to get big sacks of potatoes.
Nice.
And I used to do that kind of stuff, and I'd do the breakfast, do the dishes, do the tidying, do the cleaning, do the shopping, because my mum as well was only a young mum and she had 6 kids, so she couldn't do it on her own anyway. Like, she needed my help.
Did all the others pitch in, or was it just Tracy to the rescue?
I think the boys got away with a lot.
Right.
It was definitely more if the girls did it, and my sister, who's a year younger than me, she probably did not quite as much as me. She was a little bit more rebellious. shall we say. And my younger sister was very spoiled. She was very young. So
The youngest always are, I think, as well. Like, I'm the oldest out of me and my brother, and I'm like, my brother has all the cool stuff. He got like away with everything. Like, I've never seen him. Sometimes I'm like, when was the last time you did the dishes in the house, Lewis? But, you know, I still love him. But how do you think that played a part in raising your two daughters? Did you raise them similar to how you were? Did they do things around the house? Or did you kind of let them get away with a bit more than what you did?
I didn't get my two daughters to do anything really. I did everything for them. I was the very opposite, which isn't a good thing neither. I think because of my childhood, you know, when I was a child, things were hard for parents. And I think things are a lot more easier and convenient now for parents. So when I had my two, I purposely didn't make them do anything really. I mean, they didn't even know how to cook. My oldest daughter, I didn't even know how to put the washing machine on, I think, when she left home. So I did far too much. I went the total extreme opposite, which was not probably the right thing to do. But I did bring them up totally differently, and I also had different opportunities because I was, you know, there was only two of them as well. I had a lot
versus
more.
Versus 6 of them.
When you're sharing yourself out between 6 children, it's really hard, and you're going to work and you're running a house and you're sharing yourself out between that many children. And also my mum and dad fostered as well. So sometimes there was more children in the house as well. You can only give yourself so much, can't you?
Yeah. I'm curious, what was it like did you go out for family meals much at all?
When I was a kid, and for probably most people around about my age, you didn't really go out for family meals. I think as I got a bit older, we probably maybe went for a curry.
Yeah.
But we didn't really go out for family meals at all. We'd do picnics. When I was a child, we did everything. Everyone was always at our house. Always like, my dad was really active, as in would go camping, but he'd take half the kids in the street. Would go out for the day, he took half the kids. We always played badminton in our street.
So very social childhood then.
My dad was like, and he always interacted with all of the kids. He'd take all down the beach, would play rounders. So we did so much. We had lots and lots of activities, but it was always done on a budget. Like my mum would make with packed lunches. You know, like...
Well, the reason I ask is because obviously now you get a lot of... Obviously I worked in a restaurant for 7 years or so. Every type of family that there is. I've seen the posh families who the kids don't say a word, and I've seen the ones where the kids literally, no word of a lie, we used to put steak knives on the table. That was the knife and fork that was on a table set, and the kids used to pick up the steak knives and sword fight like they were pirates in the middle of the restaurant. That happened. That legit happened, and I'm like, that is terrible parenting. So I was just wondering, like, obviously if you guys, there was 6 of you going out, like, obviously now, what's your opinion on sort of the sort of iPad generation of kids, like just giving your kid an iPad, like we've got no responsibility, it's just, be quiet, he has an iPad. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think kids are very different now. When we were children, if my mum and dad took us anywhere, they literally would say to you before you went in, right, when we're going here, you sit and you be quiet and you behave. And we sat and we're quiet and we behaved. And we did that. We always sat around the table at home as a family as well, though, for a meal. There was no, like, obviously my mum's OCD, there was no taking food up to your room.
Yeah, no sitting on the bed, no crumbs in the bed sheets.
No,
yeah.
There was no eating in the sitting room. So you ate in the kitchen, at the dining room table with everyone all at the same time. So we're all, and you didn't have... Because there were so many of you couldn't just go to the cupboard and eat when you wanted. Yeah. You couldn't just go and get a biscuit. You would have a packet of biscuits. My mum would get a packet of biscuits or a family bag of crisps, and she'd give you one each or two biscuits each. And then when they were gone, they were gone. And you didn't have them every day. So you didn't overeat, basically.
Yeah. That's a big thing, as well.
We had everything we needed, but you didn't overeat because you weren't just allowed to go to the cupboard. I had a few friends who could just go and have as many biscuits as they wanted because there was only 1 or 2 of them. But you can't do that when you're from such a big family. Yeah. So I think the iPad thing... I think children do obviously go on things like that too much. But again, I've got a little grandson now, and I took him out yesterday for lunch, and I went with my friend, and I took his iPad. So there you go. Do
you think it's just easier just that he has an iPad?
Do you know what? It's he wasn't even on it the whole time. The reason I took it is because when I take him for his lunch, he's a proper little muncher, and he loves to eat. And when you're waiting for the food, he's bored. So it's just to keep him satisfied and stationary and, you know, nice and calm while he's sitting waiting for his food. Once his food comes and he's got his food, he's happy to just sit and eat. But it's just, sometimes it's a long time when they're sitting and he's only 2.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
I remember when the place to go when I was a kid was Frankie and Benny's.
Yeah.
Right? It might have gone a little bit downhill. I'm not saying enough, but
Is it even still open?
It's still open. A lot of them closed, and a lot of them. There was one next to my TGI's where I used to work, and it became a Sambuca's.
Right.
And the best thing about that was when we went to have a look, they'd left all of the you know how they used to have pictures of Frankie and Benny and the New York sort of Italian scene. They left all that on the wall and just put the Sambuca sign on everything, and I was like, that's just, can you do that? Can you do that? But the place we used to always go, and the best thing about it was you used to get the kids packs with the colouring pens. We used to interchange the nibs. Do you remember them? The crayons. Yeah. And I'm like, why did it suddenly become they're not good enough? Now it has to be an iPad. Like, if you didn't take the iPad out, if you didn't take the iPad out, do you think Caden would draw? Do you think he would
definitely draw
do that instead? So
yeah, obviously he's only at a young age, but he would still draw, definitely. Yeah,
fair enough. So
there is still some places that do that. I don't.
Yeah.
I can't remember where, but I have seen places still doing stuff like that.
Do you know what it tends to be? I saw the adults do it. The kids have the iPad and the adults sitting doing a word search or like colouring in some Easter bunny or something.
Well, like my little grandson gets Caden, you get me phone and he does this. He does this with his fingers. He like swipes it, and I'm like,
they just know what to do. They watch,
so
don't they?
Clever.
They watch, 100%,
So
100%. So you mentioned earlier that no one really around you when you went to university. So what do you think made you a little bit different? Why did you decide to go?
Do you know, I was brought up in South Shields on a housing estate until we got older, and then my mum and dad bought their first house. So I was brought up on a housing estate where kids played out. It was a friendly place to be. My mum and dad kind of didn't encourage us to sort of hang around the streets. They encouraged me to do like activities and stuff. I used to dance all the time. But I think education-wise, I wasn't very clever when I was at school. I didn't think I was very clever. I probably was clever, but I didn't realise I was.
Yeah.
And I didn't know a single person who went to university. So although when I left school, I went into care, I knew I was going to look after people. I had loads of jobs when I was a child. Loads of jobs. I had absolutely loads. I worked on a nice green van. I looked after an old lady. I used to babysit for everyone. I worked in a fruit shop. I delivered papers. I did the Avon. I did all sorts.
I didn't know you were an Avon lady at one point.
I've done everything.
Wow.
Loads of jobs when I was a child.
I knew the ice cream van one. That's probably my favourite one.
Oh, yeah. The story behind the ice cream van. But, so I think nobody really, I went into care, I went to college, started looking after people. I knew that I wanted to do that as a job. I wanted to be a nurse, but I didn't know anyone who was a nurse. And also, people then in our area, there wasn't many people who went to university. It was, I thought, and I know the people who I grew up with thought, it was for people who were rich, who had a lot of money, who could pay for to go to university. So it kind of was never an option to go to university. For me, it was just like, I can't ever afford that.
It was just out of your sort of reality back then. Yeah.
And it was like, that happens to rich people. That happens to people who are brought up not on a council estate sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's the way that, in my mindset when I was young, that's how I felt.
Do you know, I think I kind of felt the same. Like, I never went to uni either. I did my college diploma, I guess you could say it was. And I'm so uneducated, I don't even know what I got from college. I got good grades in college, don't get us wrong, but I didn't want to do the subject that I did, because in sort of what I do now and sort of the creative side and stuff like that, like, I didn't want to do that back then. I sort of fell into this, but I've kind of almost looked at it and went, I'm actually more creative than I used to think. Like, I thought I would have to be academically smart, but creatively smart, you can do just as well, if not better now. Do you think you're sort of a mix of both now, would you say?
I think now I'm probably a mix of both.
Yeah.
I never thought academically I could ever succeed.
What was your worst subject? I'm curious.
My worst subject? Probably geography. And I'm still rubbish at it. I've still got no sense of direction. Get lost everywhere. I need, looks like me sat nav.
Yeah, fair enough. So, obviously you went on to be a nurse.
I went on to university. I did loads of like courses and leadership courses and management courses while I was working in care. And I loved working in care. I loved looking after people. And then I was sat with a friend one day who I grew up with, and was sat in the garden. It was a summer's day, and I said, you know what? Like, she said to us, what would you love to do if you could do anything? And I said, I just wish I had been able to be a nurse. And she said, I would be a teacher. And I said, you know what? Why don't we do it? And she was like, I know, why don't we do it? Should we go to the open, should we see there's an open day and we'll go to uni and we'll have a look? So we both went to uni to an open day together. And I enrolled on a nursing course and she enrolled on a teaching course, and we both done it. We done it. Like, it was mad.
Just on a whim. Just, you know what, let's do it.
Well, just like, I think it was just, we'd got a little bit older, we'd got a bit more courage. And yeah, we'd done it.
Yeah, nice. Was it exactly what you expected? Because sometimes when you go into these career paths, it's like I wanted to be an IT technician. That was, I love fixing computers and helping people with their problems and stuff, etc. And then I went and did the course and realised that I hate computers and never want to touch any wires or the inside of a computer again. So was it exactly what you thought it would be going into it?
When I was a student nurse, obviously you're at uni part-time and you're working part-time. The hands-on care, right, I'm absolutely amazing at. I've always been amazing at that. I know that. So I didn't ever have any doubts about that. The academic side I found really challenging and really hard, and I felt like sometimes like I had to work harder than everybody else because I didn't have the academic ability. But it didn't stop us doing it, and I done it, and I got there. So
yeah, when you say the academic ability, is that like remembering things and
I think
the tests?
You know, when people just don't think they're very clever. I didn't think I was very clever. So when I was doing it, I think I had a lot of anxiety about doing it. Am I good enough to do this? Can I do it? Am I good enough?
Yeah.
That I just felt like I had to really work hard.
Do you think because you obviously mentioned earlier you never thought that you were smart, you never felt like you were smart in school. Do you think that because you had that mindset, do you think that might have held you back a little bit in terms of that? Or do you think...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I went on to do a degree, a diploma, and then I went on to do because you used to do a diploma in nursing, it wasn't a degree until they changed it years later. So I did a diploma, and then I did a degree, and then I did some of my masters, but I never completed it.
Why did you drop out?
Of my masters?
Yeah.
I left nursing.
Oh, okay, fair. Well, we'll get into that as well. I'm curious, like, is there anything that people don't realise? Because obviously we hear a lot about the nurses in the news and stuff, and obviously everything that happened with COVID and whatnot. And is there anything about nursing that people on the outside don't know about? Is there anything that goes on behind the scenes, or anything that people don't really think about when they think about nurses? Anything that would shock them or surprise them?
I think that if nurses spoke out, there would be an absolute uproar. I think nurses don't get the credit that they absolutely deserve. I think nurses, you know, in the healthcare setting, it's not just nurses, it's the nurses, it's the cleaners, it's the doctors, you know, it's the phlebotomists, it's everyone who works in healthcare or in the care sector. The job that they do is so tough, it's so hard, like it's difficult, it's really difficult to put it into words. They definitely don't get enough pay.
Yeah, that's the biggest one that I hear all the time, yeah.
But they're so understaffed and so under pressure. It's absolutely unbelievable because you're playing with people's lives. Yeah. At the end of the day. Like, I know I absolutely loved being a nurse, and I know I was the best nurse I could possibly be with the tools that I had. But it's so short-staffed. And I know it's in the media massively now. But it's been like that for years. Yeah. It's been like that for absolute years. And I think that nobody in healthcare gets the credit or the attention or the wages that they deserve because they work so hard, like hard.
But the question of that is why? Because if you, for me, it seems logical, right? It's like if you paid them more, because it is a massively hard job to do, if you paid them more people would want to do that job. Because the pay is, all you hear about is the pay is bad, the hours are shit. No one's going into that sector of work. So it's like, surely the logical thing is put more money into it. Would that make sense?
I think, I do agree. Obviously, they need a pay rise. All nurses and everyone in the healthcare, because everyone's striking at the minute, not just the healthcare.
Do you want to go on trains? Do you want your post? Do you want to go to the hospital? Everyone's on strike.
And I really think they deserve a massive, massive pay rise. And I do think, like, for example, if you qualify as a teacher and you qualify as a nurse, so when me and my friend both qualified at the same time, and we both went to uni, she did teaching, I did nursing, she started off on about 10 grand more than me a year.
Wow.
So that, that... And obviously teachers have got a really responsible job as well, and they work with kids, and it's a hard job. I've never been a teacher, but I can imagine it's a very hard job.
Yeah.
But like, that is a massive, to get the same qualification and not get the same pay and the same recognition is very hard. But again, even if you paid nurses another 10 grand a year, if you don't give them the staff to support them to do the job properly, then it's like a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of healthcare has now changed, and it's about paperwork. It's about ticking boxes, and so
Well, there was that big thing over COVID and stuff like that. People who died of random natural causes were put down as COVID, because apparently, if you put down COVID, you got more funding for the COVID side of things. I don't know how true that was. That was like the thing going around.
I can't really say anything. Like. I can't give a comment on that really, but if that's the rumor, then surely that proves that like there's something wrong. If they're that desperate for that sort of funding, they need that money so badly that they would. I think the funding in the NHS works funny. Sometimes it's to do with targets, to do with numbers, and waiting times and things like that. But you know what? It's It's the NHS. It's a free service. And the public abuse it, as well. Like, I don't... Sometimes we need to stop and think about how lucky we are in this country to have a free NHS, massive.
I mean, it costs you, I think it's like... It's well over like $100,000 or something to have a kid in some states in America. Like, you wouldn't get that. You have a baby, you take the baby home. That's it. Here. Over there, you've got to have insurance and you've got to be able to pay, like, your way, really. I think... We are extremely lucky, as you say.
Oh, massive.
Definitely.
Massive.
Was there any patients that, I'm just, as a throwaway question, was there any patients that left their mark on you? Is there anyone that you met during that time in nursing who left their mark in your memory?
Oh, loads. Like, honestly, absolutely loads. Obviously, confidentiality patients, it's really, you can't like talk.
Any that you can talk about openly?
There's loads. I've had patients who've had cancer and they've had young children and they've died in my arms. I've had patients who have been middle-aged who have died in my arms, and I've had patients who have had major surgery, been really poorly, recovered, and when they've walked out the door, I've known they're coming back in a few months' time to die. Like, I've had patients who their families have screamed at their death, and there's loads of patients touch my heart, like loads, so many. And like, I don't think there's anything more rewarding than a relative saying to you, like, I wouldn't want anyone else to have been with my wife or mum or daughter when they died than you.
Yeah. Wow.
That's an amazing place to be.
Yeah, 100%.
That's like an absolute privilege and honour, and I've done that so many times. And there's something about obviously patients come into hospital because they're poorly, they get better, they go home. That's amazing. That's what you want. And then you have patients who come in and they have like a surgery to make that enhance their life. Like, you have patients who come in and they can't walk and they have like a joint replacement and they walk out of hospital.
Yeah.
Like, that totally changes their life. But then you have patients who come in and they die, and you have to care for them literally until they go to the mortuary. And to the care that you give that person even after their death, and the care that you give them, like, for me, I'm such a caring, gentle person. Like, I can't even tell you how amazing that feels to be able to do that for someone. It's heartbreaking, don't get us wrong. I've been with patients and something has happened, whether that be them or their relative, and I've been really strong, and then I've went into my office at work or into the staff room, and I've absolutely broke down. And you do take it home with you. You can't not, because you wouldn't be human if you didn't. And you know, like, and so I've cried with relatives as well, because sometimes I'm quite soft-hearted anyway. But you know, like in a professional situation, sometimes there's an emotion that you can't.
Yeah, you can't keep it back.
You really can't. And I think if you can say that you don't feel it from your gut like that, then you must be very heartless.
Yeah,
so
almost sociopathic. I would think.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
Yeah, like if you were just in it for the money and didn't care about the patients, that's not right in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, I used to love like doing, you know, when I first went into nursing, you had a little bit more time before it got really, really short-staffed and busy. And I used to love like doing things like wash patients' feet, because they never had their feet washed, or like they were so unable to get down to their feet.
Yeah.
So, or they were bedbound or whatever. So I used to love doing things like that, cleaning people's teeth, like just cleaning people's mouths. You know, all of the little things that I couldn't bear it if I couldn't clean my teeth.
Yeah.
I couldn't bear it if I didn't have clean feet. And I'm very, very super clean in my own body. So I would love to do all them things. And patients used to say, thank you so much. Like, that was amazing. Like, that was the amazing parts.
Yeah.
All them little things.
Just helping people with the like you said, like the things that like they take for granted almost. Like, yeah, I love it. So, moving on from that, obviously you got the career you wanted. You were married. You had 2 daughters. Everything seemed like, from what we've described, that things were pretty good.
Yeah.
But obviously, at some point during that time, your daughter Georgia, very sadly ended up on life support. So how much can you expand on what happened with that?
Yeah, she did. I was still nursing at the time, and she was, I think it started when she was about 12 and a half, and she was at school. And you know, as a parent, obviously I know you're not a parent, but as a parent, you know your children so well. You know the little traits, the little behaviours, you know. And Georgia was an absolutely massive, outgoing, she used to dance, she was always like lively, and I could just tell there was something wrong, because she started like going within herself. She started not eating. I would find I packed lunches, full packed lunches hidden, and she was just very, very not herself. And so I kind of knew there was something wrong, and I approached her, obviously, and I asked her. I also got a sister to ask her, because she's got a sister they're really close. And I couldn't kind of get to the bottom of it, but I knew there was something not quite right.
Yeah.
And in my head, I thought, you know, she's being bullied. And I asked her over and over, you know, what's wrong? You can tell me, you can trust us. I'm your mum. Like, you know, I did all the things what parents do. And she just kind of shut off. I went into the school. I spoke to the school teachers. I spoke to our friends, but I just wasn't getting anywhere. The school didn't think there was anything wrong. The school said they didn't support bullying and all of them things.
Yeah, the typical school things. The schools can't do anything. They really can't.
I actually was told at the school, this school does not have bullying. And I was like, really? There's bullying everywhere in all walks of life, whether it's in school, whether it's in the, a dance school, whether it's in a gym, in an office, in a hospital, you know, in every walk of life, there's bullies all over. So, but that's what I was told at the school. So then I started I just kept an eye on her more and more. And there was a few things happened, you know, like I bought her a new mobile phone, and she didn't come home with her phone one night, but she said she'd lost it. But it wasn't until after the situation where she ended up on life support where I found out what really happened to her phone. I would give her dinner money because she wasn't eating her packed lunches, so I'd give her dinner money instead. But then she was not having any dinner. But I later found out her dinner money had been taken off her, but I didn't obviously know that at the time. I started picking her up from school and things, and me and her dad and her sister, and there was just like loads and loads of things just kept happening and happening and happening. And then one day, it was a strange situation. I was a ward manager at the time, and I wasn't feeling very well, and I was supposed to be on a 13-hour shift, and I came home this day early because I just didn't feel quite right. And when I came home, Georgia came in from school and she didn't look right. And I said, are you all right? And I was lying on my bed because I wasn't feeling very well myself. And she came in and I said, are you all right? And she said, I just don't feel very well. And I said, all right, okay. And she went in our bedroom and then she went out. She said, Mum, I'm going to go out for a bit. And I said, all right, well, you'll be getting your tea soon. Our dad was cooking pizza for her. And then she came back for our pizza. I think she had her pizza downstairs and then she went out. She came back and she came to the bedroom door again and she said, Mum, I really don't feel very well.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, okay. I said, what's wrong? And she said, I'm just going to go and lie on my bed. And you know when something in your gut just tells you. And I said to her, no, Georgia, come and lie beside me. And she said, no, I'm going to go and lie on my bed. And I said, no, I want you to come and lie beside me. And I had to really forcefully tell her to come and lie beside me. So she came and lay beside. She was lying on my arm and she just drifted off into sleep. And then all of a sudden she started like fitting, like massively fitting. Like she went to sleep really quickly. She started massively fitting. And I picked her up. She was teeny, like absolutely teeny. And I picked her up and I'm shaking her and she's like frothing at the mouth and just massively fitting. And I knew, our eyes were rolling in the back of my head. I knew there was something seriously wrong. So I shouted for her dad and I scooped her up and we got to the hospital and I ran into A&E with her. When I ran into A&E, the receptionist said, just have a seat. And I said, I need resus.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Seriously. I said, I need resus. So I ran in. And I knew some of the people who worked in there, obviously with being a nurse, that isn't the hospital I worked at. There was nobody in it. It was really quiet. And I ran into the resource area and a doctor that was there, like, seeing us and realised I needed help. Yeah. So they put her on the table. And she was, well, they started attending to her. They had to get it. She was, I can't even explain, like, and what. It took a massive team of people to get us stable.
Yeah.
And it's awful because like when it's your daughter, she was obviously that to take her clothes off, to put the stickers on and stuff, and because her body was like I can't explain.
Yeah, almost like a spasm kind of thing.
And they were trying to stabilise her, to ventilate her because of the state she was in, and they were really, really struggling.
Yeah.
And the paediatrician consultant that was there had to get on a live call with the consultant at the RVI, and he had to guide him through how to get, because they couldn't get the tube in. And I was like, I went into nurse mode. So our dad and our sister were there. They were like sort of, I think they'd been taken into another room and I wouldn't leave. And I went into nurse mode. So I started helping and putting the stickers on her. And I was like, and this nurse got us and she said, Tracy, I know you're a nurse, but you're a mum. And she and I had to back away and she sort of moved us away. Anyway, they got us stable. And then they had to blue light her to the RVI. It took 4 hours in the A&E to get her stable. 4 hours, and a team of there was about 12 people running around. It was, wow. It was like it's like something you see on a movie. It's so bizarre, but that was my little girl. Mm-hmm. But then, I remember the day because it was absolutely pouring down in rain. The ambulance came to blue light her to the RVI. I went with her in the ambulance and went to RVI, and obviously she was ventilated for a week. Yeah. She had taken something. I still to this day don't know what it is. The hospital didn't know to this day what it is. Somebody had gave her something to take.
Like if she took it knowingly what it was?
Well, she was being told to kill herself.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, when she was on life support, her body was reacting to some of the drugs that were given her, like under the I've lost me words.
That's all right. Yeah.
The drugs that were given her, the treatment that were given her to like make her better.
Yeah.
she was having some kind of reaction to them, and it started making her swell up. So I took pictures of her, actually. I was advised to by a counsellor at the time. I never left her side. I stayed with her the whole time. And she's teeny, and her whole head, her whole body was like, she was pumped up like a balloon. It was off all the drugs and stuff.
Wow.
But she, she was there for a week, and it was horrendous. But luckily, I came home from work that day because she might have just went to bed. The consultant said to us, if you had not been there and she'd went to bed, she would never have woke up.
Because you wouldn't have seen.
No one would have known.
Wow.
So, but, it's something that no parent should have to go through. But bullying is absolutely horrendous. And like, whether you're a bully or whether you've been bullied or you know someone who's been bullied, you really have to like think hard about what you're doing or not doing to help.
Yeah.
Some of Georgia's friends knew she was being bullied.
Yeah.
But also they were scared
To be bullied.
to do anything about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them were involved in it, and I removed her from the school after that. Obviously, she had counselling and stuff, and I removed her from the school.
Yeah.
And totally, it's been hard for her to make new friendships because of it. But she's absolutely amazing, and she's done so well. And she's my little girl still.
Yeah. So how did that sort of change? Did that change your relationship with both your daughters afterwards? Did it change the way you felt as a parent, or?
For any parent to go through that is horrendous. Like, and when you're a mum, it's even different because you have a different kind of connection with your kids. And it's funny because I always say this, until you're a parent, you don't know, until you're a mum, you don't quite know what love is properly. You can love hard, I love so many people, and I love really hard, but when you're a mum and you've actually got a child that you brought into this world, it's like it's a different kind of connection.
Yeah.
So I think it massively changed a lot of things for me, that happening, massively. And obviously her and her sister are so close, so close. And for our older sister, Beth, watching her go through that was so hard for her. And as a mum, that was so hard for me to watch as well.
Yeah.
I can remember seeing Bethany standing in A&E out the corner of my eye watching, and then the nurse moved her away, but I could just see her, and the fear on her little face as well was just awful. But I did a lot of thinking at that point when I was sat in ITU with our on life support. It changed loads of things for me in my life, massively.
Yeah. So after that, things go back to normal for a little bit, is that right? Like, life's normal?
Yeah, kind of normal,
yeah. Yeah. But obviously, eventually, you decide to leave nursing. So what happened? Why did you decide to leave the nursing side of things?
I didn't leave nursing until like years after. Before that, after that happened with Georgia, I ended up getting divorced. Yeah. It changed my life in so many ways that like you can't kind of explain. I was still working. I was working really long hours, and like I had a massive responsibility at work because I had quite a responsible job. So I was doing everything I possibly could for work. Yeah. And probably putting myself last. I worked, looked after my daughters, that was kind of it. And I realised that along the way, I kind of lost the connection with me then husband. Like, I didn't feel the same about my marriage. And when I was with Georgia, it made us realise that this wasn't the life I wanted.
It gave you that sort of that mortality kind of hit.
Yeah, it really did. It kind of in a way gave us more courage more courage to realise like there's much more important things in life than a job.
Yeah, 100%. And it's sad, obviously, that you had to go through that to realise that. But I'm sure part of you's probably, grateful for that experience that it showed you that. Because now, actually, I'm going to skip out a bit. So did you go straight from nursing into what you do now, or was there anything in between?
So after that, like after I got, I got divorced and I was just on my own with me daughters. I kind of like had a little bit of a gap where I was just, right, this is a point where I need to really look after my health more.
Yeah.
I always kind of done something active, and I did cycling and I did like, I went to the gym but I would drink on a weekend with my friends, and it was always binge drinking. I never really drank during the week. It would be like, we're going to go out on a Friday night and get absolutely hammered, and things like that. So, and I was always the person who couldn't handle the drink. I'd get absolutely legless, couldn't hardly stand on my legs. I might be the life and soul of the party, and I'd be dancing all night and stuff. But I was always, it was quite amusing for other people that I would get in them states.
It always is, and part of us, I think, because I used to love getting drunk as well, and I think part of us does want. We love being that person, that character when we're drunk, because other people love us because of it. And I've said this before, I think alcohol is the only drug that if you don't take it, people assume you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that stems from the social circles that we keep around
definitely.
ourselves.
Well, I think I started like, I had all this stress going on, and I had been through all that with what happened to my daughter, and I was still working, and then I ended up splitting up with my husband. So I would then, on a Thursday night, I'd come from work and I think, right, I'm going to have a glass of wine, which I never used to do.
Yeah.
And then, I'd have a drink on a Friday, then I'd have a drink on a Saturday, I'd feel ill on a Sunday, and then I'd feel ill on a Monday, and I just thought, I've got to change. This is not no life. Like, I was kind of wallowing in self-pity, if that makes sense. So I just made a decision to myself, you know what, I'm going to look after myself so much better. Like, I need to sort my life out, so I'm going to look after myself in every way possibly that I can. That's going to help my health. And that also meant working less hours, being with my kids even more, and not drinking, and not even going to social events that made us want to have a drink. I mean, I did go to social events, but I didn't drink, but other people weren't comfortable with that.
Yeah,
so
obviously, yeah.
So and then I started to really love fitness. Like, I absolutely, I realised, oh my God, I love this so much.
Just the feeling of it and the results that it brings.
And waking up fresh every single day and getting up every morning and just feeling alive. I just started feeling alive like I hadn't felt in a long time. Amazing.
So when did you start to join the TFT? When was your first TFT? Let's jump into that era of life.
So I joined what used to be called Total Fitness Tribe,
which we sometimes still call it now.
I know. I have to think about it. I joined in the January. I don't know. Was it just before Christmas? I can't remember. But it was 2015, I think.
I've totally lost what.
So about 8 years.
8 years ago.
8 years,
Yeah. How how much fitness did you do beforehand before you started on TFT? Obviously, you said you kind of discovered a love for it.
I think I kind of had sort of. Kind of let myself go a little bit leading up to it, because I felt so low. Like, I felt so low, and obviously when things like that happen to your children, it's really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And I felt so low, and I had gained a little bit of weight and things, so I just had stopped really going to the gym and stopped really looking after myself. So when I started TFT, I was a little bit overweight, but I just loved it. I used to go to what used to be called Boxer Fit.
Right. It was a boxer size kind of thing.
I used to go to there for years with me brother Michael, who lives in Australia now, and my other brother Les used to come as well. We used to go there all the time, so I was used to that kind of, some of the kind of things that we did in TFT. But I loved the feeling. I loved getting up on a morning and doing it, and I did it really well, and I just looked, and I smiled all the way through it. Like I loved it. I never spoke to anybody when I came, hardly. I was so shy. Like, I don't even think I spoke to Luke.
Which is strange, because considering beforehand we said that you were very social, you were always the life and soul, and you were always like speaking to people. I wonder, what was it, just because you felt so low?
I was really confident in my job.
Yeah.
Really confident as a nurse, like, and I could talk to anybody as a nurse, and really confident, and you know, I had that kind of confidence. I was confident with the things I knew I was really good at.
Like a situational confidence kind of,
and I was confident in loads of aspects of my life, but probably not confident in myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
So when I used to come to the gym, I mean, I remember the first time I came, I spoke to Luke, and he like introduced us and welcomed us, and I kind of I don't even think I had a proper conversation with him. Like, I would come in, do my training and leave. But I was so, like, in my head, just focused on just sorting my life out.
Yeah.
Like, so that was it. And I had to rush to work because I used to have to be at work early as well. So
yeah. So was it still 6 a.m. back then? Was 6
a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. So Luke is, for anyone that doesn't know Tracy, Luke is Tracy's current partner. Been together for how long now?
8 years.
so not long after you started. So I'm curious, so was it kind of like a attraction from day one?
I never even looked at him. Nah, not at all.
Obviously you said you didn't speak to him, but like you didn't take any notice of the fact that he always had his abs out or anything? There was nothing like that?
Well, no, because he doesn't do that in training. He always has a t-shirt on. He's like...
But was he still as consistent posting back then? Like, did he still post the same way he does now?
Oh, he did used to post. He wasn't probably as professional and as experienced, but he did used to post then. But... Nah, like, I didn't even look at him. Like, honestly, I was so shy. I was really shy with things like that. So I didn't even really notice them, to be honest. I just come in, done my training and left.
So how long was it before you started to sort of talk to him a little bit?
Well, we used to have a coffee after training on a Friday morning.
Was that up here?
We used to have it up here where we are sitting now.
So for anyone that's watching the footage, we're actually above the gym that Luke and Tracy train in. And this little corner used to be, it was like green, wasn't it?
We used to have cushions on the floor and stuff. We used to sit here and have a coffee. So
it's come a long way since looking around, hasn't
it? We used to have a coffee and we used to have a chat and things. And I kind of like sort of spoke to Luke a little bit then, but I just used to speak to the other people who were there, really. There's a lot of people who train with Luke who are friends with my brother. Or with one of my brothers. So, like, there's some people who I kind of knew.
Yeah.
Wasn't friends with them, but knew who they were, sort of thing. So I'd just, like, have a chat and have a coffee with everyone. And I sort of kind of got speaking to them a little bit, but not, like, a massive, one-on-one conversation.
Yeah. What was the first date? Do you remember the first date?
I remember.
What was it? I don't think I know the story either. So this is...
Do you not?
No, I don't.
Luke sent us a message and he asked us to go for a coffee with him. And I was like, what? Like, and at this point, I was like, I absolutely really don't want to be going to meet anyone for coffee or anything that I just really know. Actually, I spoke to my friend and she was like, no, you should go. And I was like, I'm older than him. And so anyway, I ended up going for coffee with him and he took us for a coffee. And he took us for a proper specialty coffee.
That doesn't... I had no doubt in my mind that it was one. Was it the one?
I used to drink Nescafe until then.
I'm the same. He hasn't quite convinced me to get one of those machines that you've got in the house yet, but yeah.
I went for a coffee with him, right? And honestly, I was so shy. Like, if you see some of the pictures of me and Luke when we first got together, I'd be like this, me, like at the other side of the table, like
crouching.
You can tell. Like, I look at the pictures and I go, look at me, like I'm really like proper, just so within myself, like so shy. He took us for a coffee, right? And I got obviously just a pour over V60. So it's just black coffee for those who don't know. But it's specialty coffee and it absolutely blew my head off. He was talking and was right. And I felt like I was drunk.
Yes,
I was like, my head was going, poof.
It's like when I used to come around yours when I did the film before I started working here full time. Like when I used to come around and do the filming, and you said, "Do you want a coffee, mate?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like trying to film and like colours. I was like, "What's this guy drugged me with?"
That's what I was like. That's what I felt like. I was like really spaced out. So went for coffee, and just chatted generally, and it was like just a really friendly coffee conversation sort of thing, and I just thought, oh, he's a really nice, genuine guy. And then a few days later, I asked us if I wanted to go. I think we went down. Did we go for a walk down the seafront? And
that's very romantic.
we went for a walk down the seafront and shared an ice cream. Yeah. And then it kind of, we sort of went on a few more coffee dates when he took us for my breakfast, took us for lunch and stuff like that. And we did that kind of thing. And it was just like, it wasn't meant to be a relationship. It was meant to be, we're just sort of like being friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then it started to get a little bit more serious. And it was, I don't want anything serious here. Like from both of us, we're both, you know, we're in totally different parts of our lives. Yeah, this isn't... It's just more or less a friendship, maybe even a bit fun. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
And it was like that for a long time, but then it just got serious.
Yeah, it just kind of melded together.
We just kind of totally fell for each other, and we just ended up, well, obviously 8 years down the line, we'll live together and
have
we'll
three
have
cats.
3 cats in a very, very happy relationship. So, yeah.
Amazing. So when did the decision for yourself to become a PT? Because obviously you said that you've developed this then love for fitness. So what was the decision like? What went on in your head that made you want to become a PT yourself?
Do you know what? It kind of opened up something in me that just totally was like, I felt alive. I felt on fire. I felt just absolutely like me.
Yeah.
It's weird because when I was younger, I used to dance in a dance team and I used to be a dancer.
Yeah.
And then when I was like a bit older, I went on to do cheerleading, and I did cheerleading. Had a contract with Metro Radio.
Just name drop.
And I did that, and I would have loved to be a professional dancer.
Yeah.
But obviously, I didn't really think it was a career then. Like, so. Even though I'm not one of them people who's like in your face and in the spotlight and likes all the attention on me, I don't know, like just when I do coaching, I just love it. So with Luke being a coach, it was sort of like I started coaching for him if he wasn't here, and I'd like take a few of his sessions, and I just loved it. Like I just was like springing in myself,
screaming
like,
at people to do burpees and
I just loved it. And then I thought, you know what, like me and Luke spoke about it, and I said, I wonder if I should do a PT course or something and try and become a coach. And I could, then it just means I can cover for Luke and, you know, and do a little bit more. Initially I thought, oh, you know, I might coach women, just women only, because I thought, how many women would be in my position where you are in a position of being really low, not having no confidence, but want to go to a gym and don't quite know where to go? Because I found it really hard to find somewhere that fitted my needs. So I thought, you know what, wouldn't it be great if I could just do that?
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a diploma in fitness. I didn't just do a PT course. I ended up doing a diploma in fitness.
You went all out, yeah.
I thought, I'm going to really go for this. So alongside my nursing, I did a diploma. Then I started Tracy's Ladies Fitness.
Was there any other I'm curious, was there any other names that you kind of had before? Was it just always Tracy's Ladies Fitness?
I really didn't know what to call myself. And I was like, what do you call yourself? And obviously me and Luke went over a few things, and Luke was like, just call it Tracy's Ladies Fitness. And I was like, what? But I've called it that, and it's absolutely worked. And it's, the name itself has done huge success, been hugely successful for me. So, so I called it that, and I started, I think about 5 years ago now.
Nice.
And I still have clients who started with us 5 years ago, still with us to this day.
Because it's just that good. You know what
I mean?
It's
really good.
Because what I love about what you and Luke have created, both with Tracy's Ladies and TST, formerly TFT, is the fact that everything's so different. And like every session is different. Some of the exercises might be the same, but they're done in different ways.
Yeah.
It's unique. And just the community as well. I think like obviously that's a big part of what you do as well. Obviously you do your ladies' days as well. Like, where did all these ideas come from? Like, why not just leave it at fitness? Why did you want to focus so much on the community side of it?
Do you know what? Like, I've always, I think that's the other thing as well. Like, going back to nursing, I'm a hands-on person. Like, I'm physically, I can show you anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I've always been like that. But I think it's because I'm a doer, because of the things I'd done when I was a child, the way that I was brought up to do and help people.
Yeah.
But I also, I like to help people mentally because I've seen a lot of mental health over the years. During my childhood, I've seen lots of mental health. Obviously being a nurse and being a carer for years. And I think there's always somebody you can help if you can help one person.
Yeah.
So when I started Tracy's Ladies, obviously Luke already did some of the mental health side. Like, he does it in a lot more depth now. So, and I think one of the things that we do, what's unique to everyone else, is the speech before we start.
Yeah.
And I get loads of feedback from that, right? And like, and when I do the speech and before I start, like sometimes I don't really have a lot to talk about, but sometimes there'll be something that I've listened to on the morning, or there's something that I've read, or something's happened in someone's life, and I talk about it at the beginning of the session. I'll give people some advice on how to deal with things, or how to cope with things, how to make things better.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, there's always somebody who'll say, I'll get a message off someone later in the day, or someone will cry in the session. Like, obviously I don't want to make people cry, but
happy tears.
Well, no, sometimes it's not happy tears, but sometimes, like, so someone will say, I actually cried because I felt like you were talking to me.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with it.
You absolutely hit something in me, and it's made me think, right, I need to change. Or it's made me think, you know what, I'm not doing too bad a job. Or, you know, like, I am a really worthy person.
Yeah.
Like, so it always hits somebody. And the messages I get off people, like, I have about 60 ladies, and the messages I get off people, like, I could cry. To make one person, just one person, have that massive impact on one person and change their life is absolutely, you can't, it's like when I was a nurse.
Yeah.
You can't get that feeling from anything else. And I know that it's more than one person I'm helping out of my ladies. I'm helping every single one of them.
But then again, it's also because you're so consistent on social media as well.
Yeah.
The amount of lives that you're touching outside of that as well. So you've got the 60 ladies in the gym. You're giving them all a speech. You're guiding them through their mental health. You've built a community where they can feel, safe to train. There's no judgment. There's also, for anyone that's seen the pictures, there's no mirrors downstairs either.
You know what? Like, in the ladies group, and obviously in our gym, it's not a place where there's no mirrors.
Yeah.
But in our ladies group, I have so many different women. There's different shapes, there's different sizes, there's different abilities. It's not about coming into a gym and you're like, right, getting a six-pack. It's not about that. I have ladies who do have six-packs, and I have ladies who are super fit, and I have ladies who, could probably compete if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And I have ladies who are on the totally different level who really struggle physically. I have ladies who have cancer, who they come to us either before they're diagnosed and they stay with us all the way through the cancer, all the way through the treatment, and they come out the other end. Or I have people who've had cancer and they've come to us after the surgery for help after the surgery. I have people who've lost. I have two ladies actually who've both lost their sons to suicide. I've got people who've been in really violent physical relationships. Yeah. I've got people who have lost a child. I've got people. A
lady was nearly blind, wasn't she?
A lady who, 70-year-old lady who is, she's blind basically. She, puts some of the younger people to shame. She's amazing.
Wow.
Like, there's so many people with a story where they've needed some help and support, and they come into the room, and it doesn't matter what they look like. There's no one comes with all of their makeup done and their hair done like they're going on a night out and they're not standing in the gym looking in the mirror. It's they come and they're able to be themselves. They're able to move, which then physically and mentally helps them to progress in their life. And so it's not always about this certain image that someone's looking for. It's not even, sometimes some of these ladies will say, you know what, Tracy, I just want to lose half a stone.
Yeah.
Or I want to lose 2 stone. And they'll come and they'll start training and they'll say, do you know what? I initially wanted to lose weight, but now I realise I'm not even bothered about the weight. The weight will come off as a side effect, but it's absolutely not that at all. Mm-hmm. It's the mental health side.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the community, it's the mental health, it's the fact that no one in here is judging me. Nobody is, it doesn't matter if the person beside you can do 10 burpees while you do 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you can't do a burpee, because there's something else I'll give you that you can do. So we focus on all of the good things that you can do to make you feel good, no matter what your ability, and it's amazing, like absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things as well is like a lot of people get burnt out by things like this. Like they come in and they have, like you said, they have the idea of I want to lose a stone or a 6-pack, whatever, and they make that the goal. And when they don't get it in 6 to 12 weeks, they quit, they burn out, and because the goal's so far ahead. But what I've discovered is one of my favorite things is, so I grew up really skinny, going to the gym or whatever. I would look in the mirror every single day and see nothing. There wasn't a single bicep. There wasn't anything growing on my chest. There was nothing. There was no 6-pack, nothing. And what I decided to do is change the mindset from, okay, the goal is not to get a 6-pack. The goal is not to get abs. The goal is not to get a bicep or pecs or whatever. The goal is turn up at the gym. The goal is the result doesn't matter. It's the fact that you can go to the gym. And I think that's what people who come to your who come to your classes realize is the goal isn't just about, it's nice to lose pound, it's nice to have abs, but if you make the goal, I'm just going to turn up to the gym and I'm going to do my best each and every time, it makes it so much easier, and I don't feel like that burns people out as fast. And
I think I take people out of that comfort zone. Like, I take people to places they've never been before in their life. Like, I give people the courage and the confidence to do things that they've never done before. And, like, I could break people's confidence, but obviously I won't. But, like, to do with their relationships is a massive, massive thing as well. And it just totally changes people's lives. And for the last few years, as you know, I've been taking people into the sea. Yeah. To do sea swims and sea dips. And even just today, I always get somebody new, obviously. So even just today, I took 2 ladies into the sea. And it's really freezing cold, into the sea, who've never been in the sea before. Like, you can't put a price on making people feel alive like you do. Like, you really can't. And I think I coach the ladies to focus on that internal health. So to looking after the organs. Because, it doesn't matter what you aesthetically look like, really. Obviously, it's going to, if you're going to be massively obese and stuff.
It's nice to look nice as well,
and you want to look nice, But I teach them, if you look after your organs inside, that's what's keeping you alive. That's the hidden parts, what people don't see. You can have all of the cosmetic surgery or whatever it is that you like. It's the internal that you have to look after more than anything. That'll show on the outside. And that is the most important thing. The other thing I've done is I've helped people reverse things like diabetes. I've helped
people, which is crazy.
People who've come and, they've had diabetes or high blood pressure. I've had people who literally are so immobile, they cannot sit up and down off the floor. And like, I'm talking about women who are in their 40s who can't sit down and get up. And sit down and get up. And that's absolutely fascinating to me, because by the time I've finished, there's never finished, because there's very rarely anyone leaves. But if they do leave, I encourage them to go and do something else. But to be able to help someone to suddenly be much more mobile, to walk up the stairs without getting out of breath, to be able to go and play with their kids, to be able to go and do activities with their kids that they've never done, because they would hide away. Like, I've had people who have never wore a bikini on holiday because they've been so overweight, so self-conscious, but now they're going on holiday and wearing a bikini. and they send us pictures and go, look at me, I've got a bikini on. I've never wore a bikini in 20 years and things like that.
You must look at that and go, that.
Oh,
that
it's absolutely, it blows your mind. Yeah. Absolutely blows your mind. Or like people who will say things like, I hadn't had sex with my husband for 6 years, and now we'll have an active sex life. Like, because sex is obviously, it's something it's a massive connection. So it's amazing, all them things that it does to people. Like, it's unreal. It's not just about the fitness at all.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I love talking to you about, and we've had many discussions on this in the past, is people's excuses for skipping the gym, not signing up, not turning up to classes, wasting your time, wasting their time. So I'm curious, what are your, I would say, quote unquote, favorite excuses that you get, and what is your argument against those excuses?
One of the biggest excuses, I think, is money. Like, people will say, you're too expensive, I can't afford it. It's just it's too much. Yeah. But you know, like, when people talk about money, there's no price on your health. Yeah. There's no price on your health at all. And if you want, I think if there's nothing against alcohol, by the way, I actually do still like to have a drink.
Yeah, you've got a massive sweet tooth as well.
Oh, massive sweet tooth. I love my food. I love food. The problem with me is I love savoury and sweet. But I love, you know, I love to go out with the girls and have some cocktails. Yeah. I go out for a meal with Luke and I'll have a glass of wine. Sometimes I don't bother, but sometimes I do. So I'm not saying people shouldn't drink, but when you're going out and you're spending like £100 on a Friday night and Saturday night, I mean, do people even spend more than that now? They probably do, because it's expensive, isn't it, to drink?
Oh yeah. Well, unless you're in the dive bars of Newcastle, where it's like £5 for 3 trebles of God knows what. Yeah. Yeah. But you're right.
But like, you know, you can spend. Even if it's £100 a week on alcohol, there's £400 a month on alcohol. Or we'll eat out, or, you know, we'll go to Starbucks and get a coffee on the way to work, or Costa, and you're paying £4 or £5. People get them massive coffees. Yeah. £4 or £5 for a coffee every single day. You know, it's not that expensive to find a good gym where you can go and you can train, and, you know, just don't go out once a month or something. You can find the money from somewhere if you want to do, but that's the biggest excuse. It's usually money. But, you know, like, you can't put money on health, and at the end of the day, if you don't look after your health, you're going to then end up on 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 medications, and you're going to be paying for every single one of them. And I mean, how much is a prescription?
I think it's like £8-9 now, something like that on average.
So, you know, rather than be paying that for the rest of your life, why not spend it on your fitness and your health?
Yeah, look after your health now while you can, before you have to. I think it's the biggest thing. Yeah. Yeah. So, what about, do you know what really annoys me as well? Like, people who say, I don't have the motivation, I don't feel like it. That is the worst one. And I don't know whether men are worse for that or women are worse for that, in terms of how they feel. I would probably warrant to guess that women are quite worse for saying, I don't feel like I can do that, because women tend to be quite more in touch with their feelings than the men do. I don't know whether you would agree with that.
To be fair, not really, because if I'm honest, most of my ladies turn up at their sessions
regardless of how they feel. Good.
I'll say to them, you know, if you really don't feel like it, if you really, really don't want to come, tell yourself, I'm going to feel better by coming. Yeah. So, you know, I coach lots of women who have injuries as well, and they're really like, you know, I've got a lady who's literally had to use 2 and 3 kilogram dumbbells because she's really had this horrible neck injury, but she's come to every session, and mentally it's helped her massively, and it's still kept her moving. But I work with people who've had back injuries, who've not been able to do something like as simple as a plank, and I've took them through the exercises slower, I've adapted them, and I've helped them and adjust things so that it strengthens the muscle around the joints, so it makes them be able to do it. And now they're like, you know, I've got one lady who hadn't done anything for 5 years because she had such a bad back problem, and now she's like, she doesn't have any back pain, she's off all her medication, what she used to take every single day for her back pain. So, you know, there's no excuse, and women, the ladies who are coached, tend to get over that excuse. Initially, if I speak to people before they come, I might have someone who will say something like, oh, I couldn't do that because of this. And I say to them, no, you can, because I'll help you. Yeah. And it's really good, because I'm a nurse, to have that nursing background as well. You know, I can help them through some situations that lots of coaches wouldn't be able to because of the health background I've got. Because I'm still a nurse.
Yeah, you haven't lost that side of yourself.
Yeah.
100%. And it's funny, I've got a friend who sometimes training with, and she sometimes says to me, I don't feel like going to the gym today. And I'm like, if you come down, then you'll feel like doing it, because it's like the motivation, like obviously this is a self-help podcast, talk about motivation all the time. Like motivation comes after the fact. It doesn't often happen beforehand. Sometimes you get a spurt of motivation to do something, but most of the time you have to create it by doing the thing.
Absolutely. Like I can't give people motivation. I can give them every single tool, but I can't motivate them. They've got to motivate themselves.
Yeah.
They've got to get in the room and motivate themselves.
Yeah.
And like, I don't wake up every day, like me and Luke don't wake up in the morning and go, yes, it's 4:45, let's get up and go and train. Like, I'm terrible in the morning. Like, I'm absolutely terrible. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm grumpy. Well, I wouldn't. I don't know if Luke would.
Let's ask him when he watches this.
I wouldn't say I'm grumpy, but when we wake up in the morning, like we have this little routine, and you know, Luke the alarm will go off, and I'll like put the cover over my head, and Luke will get up and he'll go make the coffee, and I'll like have an extra 20 minutes or something. And I'm not asleep, but I just lie there. There's a very odd occasion where I fell asleep again. But then I'll get up and have my coffee, and like we're sitting peace and quiet before we come to the gym. But there is days where I get up and I think, oh, I'm excited about getting a training today as well. But if you didn't, you know, you don't always feel like going to work, but you've got to.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get paid. You don't always feel like getting up and seeing your kids, but you've got to because you're a parent. You don't always feel like, you know, cooking a meal, but you've got to because you've got to eat.
Yeah.
Like, you can't always feel like everything, but you're going to feel much better when you do it.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to get over this. I don't feel like it.
100%.
I've got a lady whose husband kicks her out of bed on the morning. He's like, get to the gym.
Nice. Husbands out there, take note. Yeah. Also, wives, take note. Kick your husband out of bed to get the gym as well. Yeah. Get him down to TST. So one of the things that obviously I'm not very knowledgeable in as a 27-year-old man, but I hear quite often in the women's health spaces, and obviously working closely with your business as well, is the menopause.
Ooh.
So yeah, I've seen you post about this a dozen times. Now obviously I can only ask, you know, on an outside perspective. I don't understand it fully. So I'm curious, when it comes to the menopause, obviously a lot of the things that you hear is like it makes you gain weight, like the drive, the moods are very fluctuating. Like, how does that affect the women that you train, or yourself as well? Like, what's your personal experience with that, and is it a valid reason for gaining weight and lack of motivation? Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
It affects everyone differently. Through the menopause, I think. I don't know. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Because there's no because you can go through menopause for 8 years. Like, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And obviously it's, you know, people go through PMT before that, and you'll hear women say I've got PMT, and you know, and that's why I'm really ratty and short-tempered and moody, and
as a man you've just got to go, okay.
But I think men have it as well.
Do you know what? Probably.
I do, honestly. But so and then you just, menopause, I think it's very misunderstood. I don't think people really understand it very well. I take HRT personally. It's a hormone replacement therapy, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it's helping me. I'm not really sure. Like, it's really difficult to say. Because I think sometimes you can get mixed up with emotions and menopause and situations and depression and things, you know, because there's so many symptoms with menopause that it's hard to know. Yeah,
it kind of just adds to the mix.
So you've got like well, I'll tell you some of the symptoms, right? I'll tell you some of the symptoms I've experienced with menopause. And I was like really in my early 40s when I started going through the menopause. And when I was nursing, right, I literally sometimes would feel like my head was spinning so fast. But I used to think it was the stress at work, because it's a really stressful job. But I would like do things like I'd examine a patient, and then I'd go to write something down, and I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Like, literally from doing the examination, I couldn't remember. Like, I'd go totally blank. So that was when I first started really noticing it. But obviously with menopause, there's like the mood thing, there's the sleep thing. People wake up in the night. I went through this waking up in the night. Other women have flushes.
Mm-hmm.
Some women have flushes during the day. Some women have flushes at night. To be fair, in touch wood, I've never had flushes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may have in the night a couple of times, but not like never during the day.
Yeah.
Some women have obviously heavier periods and problems there. I'm again lucky I've never had that. Lots of women think they're depressed when they're going through the menopause. And one of the things I had was not depression, but I did have this massive brain fog, and I still sometimes get that. Like literally, it's so frightening. It's almost like Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And I actually know a few women who've been tested. A few women of my ladies who I coach have been tested for Alzheimer's when it's been menopause, because it's that bad. It messes with your brain that much, the brain function. And just remembering things, like for me, I can't sometimes remember things. Like it's really crazy. Like I go through periods where I literally can't remember anything, and then I'm back to normal. So there's even more symptoms than that. And some people like it affects our relationship. I think it's massively important to talk about it. All of the ladies who I coach, not all of them, but a huge part of them will be on or on HRT.
Yeah.
Some people have tried it. Some ladies have not agreed with it. Some ladies have not wanted to try it.
Yeah.
But they all understand the symptoms, and we'll talk about it a lot in our private group as well.
Yeah.
So it is massively talked about more, and it's massively recognised more, but I still don't think it's fully understood, and I still think there's a lot of work to do with it. And it's real. It's scary.
100%. So, coming from a relationship standpoint, just as a guy who will eventually have to deal with this at some point, not personally, obviously, but what can a man do to understand this more? Obviously, if you go through the moods, for example, what from a man's perspective should he do? How should he act, or how can he help in any way?
I think.
Listen up, Luke.
To be fair, I'm really quite lucky with Luke because he wants to understand. So he'll ask questions, he'll ask us if I'm okay.
Yeah.
And when I'm feeling low, he'll dig deeper.
Does that not annoy you when someone keeps digging?
Like,
or does he do it in a way where it's
the other thing is you get really emotional, like sometimes you cry for no reason. Sometimes it annoys us, but sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. But he'll actively say, look, I want to help you. Like, what can I do? Is there anything I need to do? Like, and he'll ask the question, and he's willing to learn about it. So that makes a massive difference, instead of just going, oh God, she's moody again.
Oh God, a woman. Yeah.
And I'm not massively moody, don't get us wrong. It's not like we'll have a massive problem with it, but like there is occasions. Or sometimes like you'll say, what's wrong? And I say nothing. And you say, what's wrong? And I say nothing. And you go, we might be going out the door to go for our lunch or something. And you go, right. And you shut the door and you go, we're not leaving this house till you tell us what's wrong. And like sometimes I'd be like, I don't know what's wrong. I just feel really emotional. I'll just cry. But it's just good that he wants to be understanding and wants to listen. And
there's by the sounds of it, there's no raised voices on his level. There's no, oh man, you're being annoying. What you being like this for? Kind of thing. There's none of that. Or is there?
No. To be fair, actually, I grew up where there was a lot of raised voices, and I think it made us nervous. And in my marriage, there was a lot of raised voices, and it made us nervous. So it's really refreshing that Luke doesn't raise his voice. Luke's never shouted at me. He's never shouted at us. I think I can think of one occasion where he might have raised his voice a little bit, but he's really quite calm.
If you want to piss Luke off, like working with him in an office 4 or 5 days a week, just put him on MailChimp and just watch him, because every day, you obviously don't see this, but every day there's something wrong with MailChimp and he will kick off and he'll be like, for fuck's sake, man. He's like ready to throw his laptop out the window.
Luke will, I've seen him like get angry and frustrated with other things, like when he was fitting my bathroom.
For those who don't know, Luke used to be a plumber, so he's quite good with that.
when he was fitting my bathroom. that was hilarious, that. So things like that, but he's never, ever shouted at me, never.
Yeah.
Like, he's really calm with us. So he is really calm and understanding, and he wants to learn more about menopause and health.
But do you know what's amazing is, just looking at this from an outside perspective, is you and Luke both train hard. You work on everything in the relationship. You work on everything in both your lives. And that must just create this level. Obviously, there's ups and downs in every relationship. Like, you'll still get pissed off. He'll get pissed off at you, whatever. But the fact that you both look after yourselves probably gives you such an advantage over most couples who just are on this downward spiral of we eat shit all the time. We don't go on date nights. We don't have good sex. It's a boring relationship. Like, the fact that you guys look so much after yourselves, just like, for anyone listening, like, if you don't already look after yourself and your partner doesn't look after their self, there's something already wrong that needs to be addressed. Yeah,
definitely. I think when you both look after yourself first, it makes everything else much easier to deal with, like, so much easier. Like, we have an amazing relationship. It's not perfect, because and if anyone says they've got a perfect relationship, then I'd like to know what you're eating or whatever. There's no perfect relationship. We have our ups and downs. I'm more perfect than Luke. No, but, like, and mistakes are made and you learn by them.
Yeah.
Luke's probably made more mistakes than me, but he learns by them. But he'll openly admit that, and that, I think that's the difference as well. But communication is huge.
Yeah.
Between you, like, you have to talk about things. We do have sometimes I think about it, and sometimes we'll talk about it, and we're like, we do have a pretty good relationship, mind. We really, really do. We've been together for over 8 years now, and, and, like, I know people say, oh, there's a honeymoon period in a relationship and things. And yeah, there is. There was for us as well, and there is for everybody. But that doesn't have to end. Like, and you do get comfortable in a relationship. Of course you do. You're always going to get comfortable with everyone who you spend just about every minute of the day with. But it doesn't have to be comfortable where you don't have any excitement in it, because we have a really good, exciting relationship. And because we look after ourselves, we're, like, I'm attracted to him, he's attracted to me. We're like, we have all of that because we look after ourselves, we're healthy, we prioritise sleep, we prioritise spending time together, we'll always make sure that we sit at the table and have a meal together, at least once a day, at least. When you never see me and Luke sitting at the opposite side of the room to each other, ever, like, ever. We'll always sit together, we're attached, sort of thing. We'll always, like, we'll have a certain way that we'll go to sleep at night, and we'll always, like, cuddle in and stuff, and, like, so we'll have a really, really tight loving relationship. But we do have faults as well, of course we do. We'll have faults. Everyone has faults in that relationship, everyone. And, you've just got to talk about it and learn from it, and keep working on it.
And adapt.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
You have
100%.
to make changes all the time in your relationship, because otherwise it'll just become boring.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you decided to do to keep it exciting was that you decided to open up the Owl and the Swan coffee shop.
Yeah. I had finished nursing at this point.
Because what did it take, like 3 years to build it all out and get it done?
Yeah. Because me and Luke love coffee so much, and so we'll go to coffee shops all over, no matter where we go, on holiday and everything, we'll always go for a specialty coffee shop, and we'll look, and we'll walk miles to find a specialty coffee shop.
Luke ran out of coffee here the other day in the office, and he went downstairs, he's like, I had to steal some of your Nescafe Gold. I was like, he just drank it, and you could see the distaste on his face.
I was like, wow. See, like, I'm more of a coffee snob than Luke now, because I would do without rather than have Nescafe. Like, seriously,
I'll just go tired.
If we went somewhere now and Luke got and there was only a Starbucks, I'm sorry Starbucks, but I don't like your coffee. Like, Luke would get one if there was nothing else. I wouldn't even have one of them. Like, I'm much more.
Those standards of being the ball's being raised. You can't do anything worse than that. So how did the Owl and the Swan? Obviously, you said you love coffee and stuff like that.
So we love coffee, and we love going in coffee shops all over, and, like, it's the ambience, it's the mood, the music, and we'll spend a lot of time in them. So we absolutely love them. So we're like, you know what? Why don't we just own my own? And I used to say, I'd love to, like, have a little coffee shop that sells lovely cakes and stuff, and and I think I've said this to Luke loads of times, and then we're like, do you know what? Why don't we open my own coffee shop? Like, why don't we? We've got nothing to lose. So we opened the coffee shop. We called it Owl and the Swan. I've got the swan tattooed on me, and Luke's got the owl tattooed on him. And yeah, it was 2 weeks before the national lockdown.
Yeah, which is what I was going to get to next. Like,
it took a lot. It took a lot to open the coffee shop. Obviously, we had a lot of work to do. We didn't get in any debt to open it, which was a really amazing thing. We made sure that we did it where it didn't really massively affect our finances.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we opened this lovely little place, and it was amazing. Absolutely loved it. It was absolutely heaving. And then 2 weeks later, we went in lockdown. We had to shut it down.
Yeah, and because I remember seeing the initial post. It was a selfie of you and Luke down in the coffee shop area, all wrecked up and all the walls looking like shit and that. And I remember going, they're gonna open a coffee shop, and then it was like, okay, the update on the coffee shop, then the coffee shop, and
we knocked the walls down, like ourselves and everything. We did all the work ourselves.
Yeah. So how obviously you worked. Obviously, I was starting to work down there, and I think, to be fair, I still really want some of them strawberry scone things that I did, because they were just the best.
My thing.
They were just the best ever. But how did you find working in the coffee shop yourself, personally?
You know what? I had when I started the gym, I was still nursing. Then once my gym business and Tracy's Ladies Fitness started to really kick off and start being really successful, I was like, you know what? I love this more than nursing.
Yeah.
I'm losing my passion for nursing, but I'm loving this more.
Yeah.
So I decided, and I made a decision to leave my permanent position in the NHS and to focus on the gym. Mm-hmm. So I did that, which was a big, big decision, like a massive decision.
Yeah.
Like, my mum was like, You're going to leave nursing?
Yeah,
my dad was like, what? Like, you can't do that. Like, and it was really like a shock for people. But I was like, I'm still a nurse. I'm just leaving this permanent position.
Yeah.
I can always go back and get a permanent job.
They're always looking for nurses. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just started doing like temporary bank work, and I would just work when I wanted to.
Yeah.
So work when I want to, do my gym, and then all the time with intention in my mind to leave nursing fully. Mm-hmm. But a little bit scared, obviously.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I would do like an odd bank shift here and there. And then I think I just kind of stopped doing the bank shifts. Yeah. I was like, do you know
just
what? I'm doing them less and less, and just phasing them out, but I still remained registered. Then we opened the coffee shop. And in the coffee shop, obviously we're closed for lockdown, we're reopened, we're closed, then we could have takeaways, and it was like up and down. It was absolutely a mess. But you know what? It was really successful, as in everybody loved it. The food was amazing. It was a really high standard quality, and I loved it initially. So I loved it as in, at this point I've left nursing. I'm not really nursing at all now. I've got the coffee shop, I've got my gym. I'm loving serving the customers. Yeah. I'm loving making everyone happy. They've got that lovely ambience. They've got that lovely feeling what me and Luke get when we're in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
But then I think sort of Luke kind of started realising before me didn't really want to be working in the coffee shop. So he kind of was like stepping away from it a little bit. And then I found, because of lockdown, we'd like took on some staff. We had to let them go. We had to let them go. We reopened. We'd obviously lost a lot of money in the process. We'd lost a lot of profit, and we're like fighting to keep it open.
Yeah.
But I could only take on one member of staff at this point. And there's just me and one member of staff. So I ended up where I was working in it full time, and I started to really resent that. Yeah. I started thinking, do you know what? I'm hating this. I've left a job what I loved, which was nursing, to do something that I wanted to do as a little sideline. You know, I wanted to pop in and help out every so often. I didn't want to be working in it.
You wanted to own it rather than work it, yeah.
I didn't want to be working in it like 6 days a week, and I ended up doing that. And people who work in hospitality will know it's not like you don't go to work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Before you get to work, you're thinking about you've got to pick up things, you've got to get deliveries, you've got to like know what's happening. Everything's got to be prepared before, and then also after. At the end of the day, you've got to prepare everything for the next day.
Yeah, it's the prep, the work, the clean down, then the prep for the next day, and then do it all again. Yeah,
as well as putting a smile on every day, and still trying to coach, and still trying to look after my own health, and still trying to be in bed early on night time. So I was just like, this is just, I'm not loving this anymore. Like, I'm really not loving it anymore. So Luke and I talked about it, and we're just sitting and we're like, you know what, this is, I think it started to affect me in the way that I was like, look, you're upstairs in the office working and I'm down here. And I was saying things like that. Look, and that wasn't really fair because I was there.
Yeah.
But it was like, but also it wasn't fair that he wasn't, sort of thing. So we like had a little bit of bickering about it and stuff. So in the end, we like sat down and we're like, I was like, this is not working. We both said, this is not working. You know what? Why don't we just cut our losses? If we close the coffee shop, the only sad thing was that we had to let a member of staff go.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part for us because obviously we're really caring people and we really cared about that person.
Yeah.
But it was just, we'll have to cut our losses now because it's starting to affect me in a way that we didn't want it to. It's not what we're set out to do in the first place.
It wasn't the dream, wasn't the cute little coffee shop. It was all the stuff that kind of comes with. But it's hard to run two businesses as well as take care of yourself. Like,
especially
it's not
that
easy.
kind of business.
Yeah, hospitality is one of the honestly probably it's one of the hardest things. Like, people think, you're a waiter or you serve drinks or whatever. It's like, no.
If I could have just done the coffee shop, it would have been different. But I didn't love that enough to do that.
Yeah.
And if I could have had just people working in it and I wasn't working in it all the time, it would have been different. If lockdown hadn't happened, it probably would have been different as well because we would have had more staff. It would have ran totally different. But like fighting, open you shut, and that's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So we sat down together and we're like, right, okay, we're closing. We're going to close. Like, and we did a video and we announced it and we closed the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I felt like, but you know what? We didn't. We decided as well not to say, right, we're going to close in a month's time or 2 months or 3 months. We're like, right, we're going to 2 weeks, that's it.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that's it, we're going to do it because there's no point in dragging it out.
Yeah, dragging out that unhappiness.
There's no point in dragging it out at all. So we closed it and I miss our lovely coffee because we did the best coffee.
Yeah.
It was amazing and I really miss it and it was good for the community, and, you know, but it's something that we both won't ever regret doing.
Yeah.
It's something that it's part of where we've got it tattooed on where, so that isn't the reason why I'm a swan and he's an owl. That's another story. But we called it the Owl and the Swan. So that was me. It was mine and his coffee shop. So it's something that we'll have a memory from, and it's something that we thought, you know what, we'll try. It didn't work out, but we've learned lots from it.
Oh yeah.
And there's no regrets.
Yeah, 100%. So one of the things that I kind of want to round our episode up on is during one particular shift, and I know you were comfortable talking about this before. During one particular shift in the coffee shop, you got probably the worst phone call of your life, I would say. So how much can you expand on what happened with that phone call?
So, you know, there's two, in my whole entire life, the two worst things that's ever happened to us was what happened with Georgia, and the other thing was my brother died, Tony. That was during lockdown, but we had the coffee shop open, so I can't remember where the lockdown situation was at that time. But and it'll be coming up to 3 years this year in July.
Mad.
And we're in the coffee shop. So Tony is my oldest brother. He died at the age I am now. And we're in the coffee shop this day, and Luke and I were working in the coffee shop, just the two of us, and it was quite busy. There was people, like, obviously in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And we were really busy to the point where my phone was on the side, because, you know, I have our phone everywhere with me, don't we? And my phone was on the side, and I was taking some coffee out of someone, and I looked, and I think I had something like 17 missed calls off my mum. And I picked my phone up and I said, look, I've got 17 missed calls off my mum. That's really weird. Like, she wouldn't normally call us that many times.
Yeah, that's when you know something's...
And I was like, I'm going to have to call my mum. And Luke said, well, call her. So I just stood where I was at sort of the side of the counter, and I called her. And she told us that my brother was dead. And, like, that is the hardest thing that, like, with Georgia, I was by her side. I was with ours felt like I had a bit control. This was so different. So when my mum told us on the phone that my brother was dead, I literally, she said, yeah, it's funny, right? Because she told us that my brother was dead, but she never said it was Tony. Mm-hmm. But I knew.
Yeah.
I knew it was him. I don't know why, I just knew it was him.
It's a similar sort of instantly feeling that you had with Georgia, where you knew something just wasn't.
Yeah. And I screamed like I screamed. I screamed like I've seen patients' relatives scream.
Yeah.
I screamed and I hit the floor. And Luke obviously doesn't know what's going on, and he's like, what's wrong? What's happened? And I'm just screaming hysterical. I felt like my whole insides had been ripped out. I can't even put it into words. And he picked us up, like he's like scooped us up in his arms, because the coffee shop was full of people, so everyone's just looking.
Yeah.
And no one's really know what's going on, and Luke doesn't know what's going on either. And he like scooped us up and he carried us into the gym, and he's like, what's happened? And I just said, my brother, he's dead. My brother's dead, and Tony's dead, and I don't know what. And I obviously didn't know what had happened, because I just dropped the phone, and I could hear at this point. I can hear my dad. My mum's obviously like panicking and give the phone to my dad, and my dad saying, Tracy. And I think Luke spoke to my dad. I can't even quite remember.
Yeah.
And I was just like on the floor, just absolutely like just in a state, and I jumped up, and then I was like, I've got to go, and I literally was like, I've got to go like that. And Luke was like, you can't go anywhere like this, you can't eat, like you'll have to wait until I can close the coffee shop, and I'll have to take you, like and I was like, no, and I got in my car and I went to my mum's. Mm-hmm. And it was horrific, and he had died under horrible circumstances, and he was in Spain, and it was just absolutely the worst thing ever.
There's like a media frenzy as well, like they harassed you and your siblings as well.
What happened was, he came over a balcony in Spain, from the 7th floor. He came over a balcony, and obviously we didn't find out all of this straight away. This is like later down the line and everything. And he actually, as soon as it happened, the day that we found out, we had the media phoning all of us, FaceTiming me, like FaceTiming us, the media, like, and phoning were, every single one of were sat outside my mum and dad's house, sat outside my niece's house, like Christ. My niece's houses, that my brother's daughters, like horrendous, like, and literally we didn't even know at this point what the hell was going on. We didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
His daughter had been speaking to him a few hours before, so we just really didn't know nothing. And then obviously we later found out there was suspicious circumstances, but he also, when he came over the balcony, he landed on another man, mm-hmm. and both my brother and this other man died. Mm-hmm. So it was like, not even, like, you just couldn't write it. Like, it was...
It is when you hear it, you're like, whoa, like, it takes you like a second to realise, like, oh shit, this isn't a film or anything, this mm-hmm. actually happened, yeah.
It's like something you just see in a movie and doesn't happen, isn't it? So it was just horrendous. And obviously it's during lockdown, he's in Spain. We couldn't, I had to take control, because nobody really quite knew what to do, because who knows what to do in these situations. Oh, yeah. And then being told that by the Spanish police that there's suspicious circumstances, and I had to get in touch with the British Embassy, who don't really know anything, and they're trying to help you, but it's really difficult because it's another country. It's hard, like really hard. And anyway, there was a big investigation, and it's still not closed, the case. It's still ongoing, and it's still really, really hard. But just the whole situation, getting him home from Spain was horrendous. It cost £10,000 to get him home from Spain. Like, obviously the money when it's your brother is not an issue, but it's still a lot. Like going to court to try and get him home to get his... I had to actually put it through a court to get his body because they wanted to send his ashes. And I was like, absolutely not. My mum and dad can't deal with that. Like, we need to bury him at home. Like, you can't just do that. And also, like, is it really him? Like, we were like, is it really him? Like,
because you wouldn't know.
Is it a mistake? Is it a mistake? You know, do we need to identify him? Like, but obviously he did have identifiable factors, you know, like, and he had tattoos and but eventually we did get him home and we had his funeral and things in lockdown, which was horrendous. Anybody who lost anyone in lockdown, like what you go through is horrendous when you lose someone, but to lose someone in lockdown was on a different level.
It was just a mess, was the whole thing.
Absolutely different level. Absolutely terrible. And I still say to this day, COVID or not, nobody in this world should have the right to tell anybody that their relative has to die alone. Without them, because or like, you know, like it's inhumane. It's wrong.
Well, it's one of the things where it wasn't even guaranteed that even if they're dying from COVID, it wasn't guaranteed that it would affect you the same way. And it was like even if you tested negative, you couldn't still go in. It was like it was a horrible time. People are like still trying to sue and stuff now. Like it's just. But,
obviously, I'm talking about my brother here, but I'm talking about also, like, in hospital, like, people in hospital dying and their relatives can't be with them when they die. I know the nurses are there, and the nurses would absolutely do the best they possibly could, but to not have your relative there or not be with your mum or your dad or your sister or your brother or your husband or your wife when they're dying is just absolutely so wrong. It's horrendous. So anyone who lost anyone in lockdown would know the situation with funerals as well, because so my brother had a funeral, obviously, and he's got his daughters, and obviously we're from a big family. So you could only have so many people in the crematorium, which was absolutely horrendous. So, like, my daughters couldn't go in. His daughters' partners, because his daughters are all grown up and they've got children, his daughters' partners couldn't go into the crematorium with them. So you can't even go in to comfort your partner when they've just lost their dad. So, and like my daughter's standing outside, like, needing comfort from me. And me other sisters and brothers, their kids, like, it's horrendous to not be able to just be in there with your family. Like, that was horrible. The whole thing is just horrible anyway, but in COVID it was even worse. And absolutely horrendous.
Well, since that day, you've said, I remember we had a conversation, I think it wasn't long after that happened, but you went out and you wanted to live your life as much as possible. Obviously the same thing happened after Georgia. You want to do everything that you could, so you've been spending lots of time with Caden, with your grandson, who is so cute, by the way.
He's lush, isn't he? He's adorable.
You've got into amazing shape several times. You've done the photo shoots, you even got surgery, you got your boobs done as well, something that you always wanted to do. You know, you've done public speaking as well, and I'm just wondering, like, where does, after that, the day-to-day drive come from to keep going after everything that's kind of that we've kind of talked about today?
Do you know what? Like, I'm going back to my brother here. My brother was the same age as me now. When he died, and I think that you should never miss an opportunity ever. So obviously we had the coffee shop open at the time, but it was closed this particular day, right? And I was exactly 1 week before my brother died. Was when I seen him, and I was driving along. He was driving along in a car with somebody, and I was with my friend. We'd been for a walk, and we're walking home. And when we were walking home, we seen my brother. It was raining. We'd been on like a dead long walk, and we were really tired. We'd walked from Newcastle. And he stopped the car, and I just remember him smiling at us, and he totally adored us. And he was like, oh, like, can we go to your coffee shop? Because he had never been.
Yeah.
And I was like, Tony, it's shut today. And he was like, well, no, let's go to your coffee shop. Let's go. And I was like, he was like, you can open it. It's your coffee shop. And I was like, it takes an hour for the machine to heat up.
Yeah.
It's not like a kettle like you're boiling and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, like, we can do it another day. We can do it another day. And he was like, oh, I love your kid. And he went, and I never seen him again. So I think probably that gave me a massive lesson in life. Like, if someone says to you, obviously you can't always drop everything, but if someone said, like, there was no reason that day why I couldn't open the coffee shop for him.
Yeah.
There was no reason other than I was tired, I was a bit wet, I had just walked for 20 miles or something. There was no reason why that day I couldn't have opened the coffee shop for him. So when someone just gives you an opportunity or asks you to do something, and you think, do you know what, don't feel like it right now, or whatever, just have a think about it and do it.
Yeah.
And that makes you want to live. Like, you've got to live for the moment. You've got to take every opportunity that comes your way.
Yeah.
And I think, so now I will, every single time when someone asks us to do something, I'll always try my hardest to do it. Like, because that was the last time I seen him.
Yeah.
So, but also I've got I have a photo of him in my hallway at home. And it's weird, right? Because every day, and you know, even in the hard times, like when I have things going on myself and I struggle a little bit, every single morning, my routine is, obviously, I've said before what my routine is on a morning. Luke's made the coffee and stuff. And I come downstairs on a morning, and we've got 3 little kittens, and they tap my legs as I'm coming down the stairs because they know that I'm going to feed them.
Yeah.
And I come down the stairs, and I've got this little fairy light hanging from the ceiling, and I put it on, and my brother's picture's on the wall in front of us.
Yeah.
And I look at his picture every single day. And
It's all right. It must be nice having that visual reminder of him as well.
it's like it's a picture. It's a lovely picture, and he's smiling. And I look at him, and I smile, and I touch it, like,
yeah.
as if I'm touching his face. It's weird. Well, it's not weird to me, but it might be to somebody else. But like, and every day I do that, every day, and I never forget.
Nice.
And then I think, like, he would want me to live.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that anyone listening to your story today is going to take away from that, is just, no matter what happens, you just keep living, especially for the people around you, and you've
got to keep living. You've got to keep looking after your health.
Yeah.
And you've just got to keep going. You've got to. Like, even when you don't feel like you've got to.
Yeah.
You really have. You've got to take every opportunity offered to you.
Yeah.
And you've got to just go with it. And you don't have to be perfect. And you're going to make mistakes. And you're going to piss people off. I even saw that. You're going to piss people off, and you're going to upset people, and you're going to hurt people, and you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But you've just got to do it. You've got to live. You really have got to live. And you know what? Like, getting through all of that with my brother, to help me get through, was me training every single day.
Yeah.
I came in here, and I came in the gym, and obviously Luke coached me because I train with his group.
Yeah.
And every day, I used to cry all the way through it.
Yeah.
Like, I used to cry through the whole sessions, and people used to say, why are you doing, I don't even know how you can do that. Like, how can you go to the gym, like, after your brother's just died? And I'm like, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
Like, shall I just go and lie in bed and cry? I can cry in the gym. So I used to come, and it was that and my ladies who helped me get through it.
Yeah.
So I know, like, for example, I've got a lady whose son committed suicide just on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
And she came to the gym 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
And she came, and she kept going, and she kept going. And she said she wouldn't have got out of bed if it wasn't for that. And I know exactly what that feels like. And I talk about this with the ladies.
Yeah.
And I talk about my feelings with everything that happened with my brother. I talk about how I dealt with it, and how even at the hardest times, training's never going to make you feel worse.
Yeah. You never regret a workout.
No,
really.
you're just going to, it's just going to help you look after your health.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, people who go through really tragic, difficult times sometimes do turn to alcohol, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because everyone's different and everyone deals with
There's
things
just better
different.
coping mechanisms than
But, well, for me, that was my coping mechanism. It might not be the right one for anybody else, but it was for me.
Yeah.
And I know that I've helped lots of ladies through difficult times because they've used it as their coping mechanism.
100%.
I think, like, for people like me, mum and dad, I think to lose a son is the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, or to lose a child, sorry. Not just a son, a child. But I think, obviously, I can't bring my mum and dad here and coach them.
Yeah,
so they have their own way of coping. But it's really hard, and it's hard watching them go through the pain.
Yeah.
But if I didn't do what I do and live the life that I live, I probably wouldn't have been able to deal with it and help the rest of the family deal with it the way that I did.
Yeah.
Because I'm a really calm person who can put things...
You help other people put things back into place.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think I've done that from being a child.
Yeah.
And that's where your childhood comes in. It keeps you like strong like that. With that kind of strength, you can get through a lot.
You can help other people. Yeah, amazing. So Tracy, where can people find you and follow you on social media to hear more of your story and keep up to date with all your training? Where can people find you?
Tracy's Ladies Fitness on Google, Tracy's Ladies Fitness on Instagram, Tracy's Ladies Fitness on Facebook, or on my homepage, Tracy Holmes.
Yeah, and you started TikTok now as well.
Oh, TikTok, yeah.
TikTok as well.
Forget about TikTok.
Yeah, go watch Tracy do some dances with some supplements as well. That's amazing.
Oh, no.
No, Tracy, I think people listening will be very inspired by your story today. But yes, guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, please give us the 5-star review that we so desperately want. And I will see you all in the next episode.